Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this planet. We've got another edition of WOWSA Live. Ned, take over.
My name is Ned Denison. I'm going to be your host. I'm a two-time ice miler. I'm a marathon swimmer, and I'm currently the chairman of the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame. And I'll turn over to our guest. His introduction should be at least 5 times longer than mine. So Madhu, take us through some of your marathons, some of your cold water swimming, and some of the organization work you do.
So, Ned, I don't think my introduction will be 5 times longer than yours. I don't think anybody's will be longer than yours. So I'm not an ice miler. I think the closest I ever came to ice mile was 0.9 Celsius. I was 1,400 meters. But then since then I've done some swims, but I haven't officially recorded it as an ice mile. But we have enjoyed swimming in below 5 Celsius, and now we've reached a point where, hey, I think it's more fun to watch people doing ice mile. So that's the stage we have reached. And my swimming list of swimming achievements are not too many. Actually, I've done the English Channel. I've swum across Lake Ontario. I've done a lot of swims in San Francisco Bay. That's where my open water swimming kicked off. And I've swum across Straits of Magellan. Those are the main like iconic swims that I've done. But I have a lot of memories, like with hanging out with my friends in the open water in Lake Ontario, and in fact, all the Great Lakes. I've also done a few things on the land. I've done a few marathons, and I survived Marathon des Sables, which is a 7-day, 6-stage race in the Sahara Desert. In fact, I barely crossed across the finish line. And right now, actually, I'm training for a 100-mile run, which got canceled, and it's being postponed to next year. So the interesting thing about this 100-mile run is there's a 7,000-meter elevation gain, and this happens in the beautiful Rocky Mountains. And I have a wonderful family. I have a beautiful wife who's smarter than me, and 2 wonderful kids. And
is the 100-mile race called the Hardcastle 100 or Hardcase 100? There's a famous race down.
It is called Sinister 7.
Sinister 7. Why not?
So, in fact, another the 7 is because you're climbing 7 peaks. It's 100 miles. In fact, something that was very catchy with this race was, once you finish the race, you get to be called a sinner. How cool is that? But that was not my motivation. My motivation was I hang out with a bunch of people, and 3 of my friends actually went to do the race last year, and only 1 of them finished, just because of the degree of difficulty, the tricky things that go through 100 miles, and also these guys are wonderful people. And I thought, hey, I want to hang out with them. You're in pain, and we're still laughing. So that's that unique experience of pushing the boundaries and still keeping our humor intact. So that's the experience that I wanted to relive. Yeah. One
of our guests in a few days will be Kent Nicholas from SCAR, and the experience of being together for 4 days of SCAR is one of joint pain as well. Madhu, talk us through the comparison between Straits of Magellan, the English Channel, Lake Ontario, and the Desert Run. Give us some differences and similarities between the training, the actual experience of these events.
I'm not sure if you guys, you might partly agree with me on this. What I have noticed is when it comes to these swims, I don't think I can compare them. They all have their unique traits of weirdness or degrees of difficulties, and unique monsters that live within each of them. But a common factor that I have noticed is it's the kind of people that congregate to take up these challenges are the same. But another thing is it's the training that is also another common factor. What I've learned is, I learned this when I was training for the channel, or at least when I when I got across the swimming channel, what I noticed was training is actually very critical. And I made sure, and the people around me, people at South End Rowing Club, made sure that my training was actually much harder than the swim itself. With the experience that was in the club at South End Rowing Club, they said, okay, hey, Madhu, tomorrow there's a storm coming in. Let's go in and swim. So every training, every swim that I went in, I was literally crying, guys, what are you guys doing this to me? Why are you guys doing this to me? Like Bob Roper and John Mayer, who took me out on a Zodiac, I literally cried. Yeah, there were times I was like scared. But that experience actually made me survive, or made my swim across the English Channel uneventful. So I reach a stage when I get to the starting line, I make sure that, okay, that I've gone through all the critical attributes that I have learned about swim. Even if I don't have itemized it, I make sure that the people or the team that supports me have understood that. So my swim becomes uneventful. But yet, when you get in, there is always unknown uncertainties that play a significant role in these adventures. So I think one common factor is all these adventures are like expeditions, and you need to be sure that, okay, there is something that will happen which can't be controlled. So you need to be prepared for that.
It is one of the things in the sport that people talk about. They've done their 6-hour qualifying swim for the English Channel, and now they're ready. And I think people in the sport go, no. That's maybe the first 6 hours of your swim. There might be another 6 hours and another 6 hours after that. So that's only one element of training. And you're talking about
you're
some
right,
of the older guys giving you the benefit of their wisdom.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah. So when I was training for the channel, I think every swim I did before I went to the channel, I failed. That is something that I actually, when I think about in fact, a big chunk of my memory from the channel is all about my training swims. I have like geographical references in San Francisco Bay. Hey, this is where that happened. Like I was stuck in this corner in that oyster point where I was like, I literally cried. And then we were at, I think one of the big Navy ships, US Navy ships actually crossed our path like at Pier 1. So these are the memories that I have. And so, and you're absolutely right. Yeah, the swim ends only when you get back to, when you touch the shore and you get back to the boat. That's what I've realized. And I'm glad everything, for me, it was an uneventful day in the channel. And that's how I want all my adventures to be.
How did you come about going down to the Straits of Magellan? How did this happen? It's not exactly around the corner from where you live.
That's true, actually. Yeah. So Straits of Magellan. Yeah. I learned about Ferdinand Magellan when I was in grade 5. I still have a pictorial memory of reading Magellan's name in the textbook that I was going through, and also it made a reference to the magnetic compasses that were made by a company called Magellan. So those were the two memories that I had as a kid. And then as you grow up, curiosity, and like we lived in a beautiful city in India called Mysore, which is known for its university. I lived in the university quarters, so we had access to libraries. Like, I mean, all kinds of literary contents and everything. So it gave me access to all the encyclopedias. I think those things are outdated now. Yeah, we have Google, we have internet, and the content is much easily and is cheaper right now. So I learned about Magellan being the first person to have done the, I mean, in fact, as I have learned more about it, he could not finish like the circumnavigation. But however, he was the first person to come up with that idea and at least make it happen. So a big chunk of my reference goes to the early explorers. And then I met Lynn Cox in 2003 when I was trading for the channel and we lived in San Francisco. So I learned about Straits of Magellan, but it was in my background. Yeah, I mean, these things are ridiculously expensive. These things you can't just pull out of your back pocket and say, hey, I'm going to go do this. So that's where that seed thought came into my head. And as life progresses and as you evolve from adventures and as you progress with in your family, I reached a place. Okay, hey, I think this is something that I need to try. So my first attempt was in January of 2015, and I was in the Straits for about 2 hours. I had traveled 9.8 kilometers. So I did not make it, but it was a fantastic experience. The people that came together, I had a lot of fun in Chile, the Chilean Navy, the Canadian consulate. We had a lot of fun. And then I came back and I had to deal with the monsters that I had met in the Straits of Magellan. I again seeked and built another group of people, strong team, who helped me get over my fears. And then I worked back into getting back to the starting line. But again, I wasn't. All the training that we do still did not give me a ticket to get across the Straits of Magellan. I literally had to fight that demon every stroke because I was scared that I was going to die.
What were the demons?
The demon was that I didn't want to be. I wanted to be part of my family, my kids growing up. So I didn't want to die in the Straits. That was my fear. And every stroke that I took, I thought, okay, the next stroke I'm going to die. Next. So I had to literally.
And was it because it was cold? It was rough. The sea snakes were on your feet. What were the real causes of your demons?
The real causes was actually my attempt from 2015, where I was stuck in the Straits of Magellan for 1 hour and 55 minutes. So when I got on the Navy ship, I had passed out for about 20 minutes. So I don't recollect. I mean, I did not pass out. I don't recollect the 20 minutes what happened to me since I got on the ship. So that was my fear. And also, like when you're in the Straits, it's not when I compare to, as I said, none of these swims can be compared. Like some of my experience, I've done a lot of, as I mentioned, like Bob Roper and John Mayer have taken me out in some rough conditions. But Straits of Magellan has this micro weather system called Willybar, where things change rapidly. Within a matter of 20 minutes, like the weather systems can change. And a normal condition is anywhere from 30 to 50 knots of wind speed. And the narrows of the Straits, it flows like a river. And on top of it, you bring this weather systems into the picture. So I'm sure you can interpret it as to what you're going through. So
it sounds a bit like Steve Munitone is talking about the Straits of Sagaro. So if I would say Lake Ontario is often very friendly, the English Channel's not very friendly, but the Straits of Magellan are downright nasty.
Yes, yeah, you could say that, yeah.
But let me bring you to Ontario. You're a swimmer, you're an organizer, you're a historian. We met a young lady many years ago named Annalise Carr, and I think you were
Yes.
probably involved with her swim. Describe to us who she was, what age she was, the fact that she's certainly no more than 5 feet tall. And describe how all that came together and the enjoyment you get from being part of an adventure like that for a young woman.
The funny thing about about Annalise Carr was we both swam across the lake at the same year, 2012. So I think I swam across July 30th, and she swam third week of August. So I would go to work and like we were in some tricky meeting, and somebody would mention, "Hey, this guy swam across the lake." And immediately, some of my smart friends who were in the room, "That's not a big deal. A 13-year-old swam across the lake last week." So yeah, Annalise is a fantastic swimmer. Yeah. So was I involved? I think I don't think I was like deeply involved in her team, but we did a few swims together. That's where actually we exchanged. Where I think one thing that I shared, it might not be true, but this is my memory. Yeah, I think we spoke about mind over matter, and then we just had a good, solid, positive connection, and yeah. That's my that was my biggest contribution to her swim. I don't think I was part of. I don't think I helped her in terms of setting up the logistics or anything, because I'm when I build my team, it's very lightweight and it's low profile. So yeah, I was, but we I think we did about 10 or 15 swims where we swam stroke to stroke. Yeah, just being out in the water and just being, just feeling the energy. That's what I would. That's my biggest experience swimming with Annalise Carr. Yeah.
I had a young protege years ago. He was 15 and he was going to go for the English Channel the next year. And he had never failed at anything in his life. He was the best student. He was the nicest guy. He was a good son. It was all those things. So I contacted Nick Adams in the UK, who famously swam the Channel at 16 and has taken a number of young swimmers across since. And I said, Nick, should I make him fail a few times? Should I, bring him out on swims and make sure he fails, because he's never failed at anything and he probably doesn't know what it's like. And when you get to a certain age, you failed at lots of things.
Yes.
The girl wouldn't dance with you when you were 16. You didn't get the job you wanted. You got a car crash, you divorce, whatever it might be. There's plenty of failures. And Nick's advice to me always stuck with me. He said, no, he goes, the kid thinks he's indestructible. He said, that's his biggest strength. He said, your job is to keep him safe. And it was interesting that as you talk about the monsters you had, and people like Annalise at 13 and young Owen at 16, they didn't seem to have any fears.
Exactly. Yeah.
They had never had a problem that they couldn't get over. Nothing bad had ever gone wrong in their lives, and they just, it's fine. They're going to go for a swim now.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
That's it. Yeah. I think I kind of agree with Nick's. That's what I see in my kids as well. Yeah. Because they have absolutely no fear. And in fact, I've gotten over a lot of my fears through them. Okay. So I did not instill my fear, but I took a step back and said, hey, maybe I can work with them to get over my fear. Is actually that's my experience. I have a lot of fears, but I've gotten out of some of the fears through my kids.
And now you're also involved locally in the whole organization of the swimming, including the cold swimming in Lake Ontario. Tell us about how you go and organize a cold water swim, what kind of safety measures you put in place. And while you do that, I don't want to distract you, but I'm I just got to put on my ice swimming jacket to possibly inspire you for later.
Way to go. In fact, my biggest strength is anything that I do, I make sure that the people who come to support have the right attitude. People who are not scared to take on an adventure. People who are not afraid to operate. Afraid at the threshold of a barrier, and people who are not afraid to push the barrier. So rather than equipment, I focus on attitude. I'm not worried that that we don't have an EMS with us, but it is the right set of people that can actually help us be safe. I think that is an important factor in open water swimming. It's not the equipment. It's not the sassiest and the coolest technology that you need. So that is one approach I always look for. And people need to be committed to support the individual. So when I am out there to help somebody, I am 100% committed. Because if anything goes wrong, we know what to do. Or even if we don't know what to do, we will figure out a way with whatever we have to get out of the situation and make the swim safe and keep the swimmer safe. And that's how I look at things. Not everybody agrees with me, but that's what I believe in, actually. Even when I take the same approach at work as well. It is not the skills that we need to solve a problem. It is the right attitude that we need. You can always acquire skills if you have the right attitude.
So give me an example. This last weekend, did you have a group swimming in the lake?
No, we have been actually heeding to the advice of public health these days, which is very important. I think like with what we are going through right now, I think we have to make sure we don't burden the healthcare systems.
Let me bring you back to December or November. Describe a swim in the lake. How many people show up? How many people are swimming? How many people are supporting? What kind of donuts and cakes you have afterwards?
So, as I said, it's a congregation or a fellowship of these unique characters who are committed to be part of the sunrise. That's something that I started, or that's something that I picked up from Southern Rowing Club. So when I was training for the English Channel, like something that kind of actually kept me going was the craziest group of people in Southern Rowing Club would meet at dawn and go for a swim. Sunrise is always beautiful, but these characters, these guys were the craziest of the crazies in Southern Rowing Club. So being with them and doing things that that we never planned to do. We would go show up at the club, and then we would do something which I was never planning to do. So, and then laugh about it and go back to our realities, which is work life and family life, which is more important, right? But we had fun. So I make sure that the same kind of personalities or the same group of people meet at Coronation Park, which is like a small cove near my house. And we've named that as Glow Beach. Great Lakes Open Water Adventures is the group that I have co-founded along with 6 other people. So where we help other crazies to achieve their dreams.
So you have a known location that's relatively sheltered.
Yes.
And how many people are showing up at one of your swims? Is it 10 people, 20 people, 50 people?
It can be anywhere from 3 to 25, 50. And at times we have had 100 people. So when the crowd becomes bigger, we make sure, okay, that the support system, I will sacrifice my swim and I make sure, okay, I'm on the beach to oversee and make sure the swim is safe. Okay, and the only fee that we or the only contribution to this whole swim that was organized was keeping the beach clean. All we ask for people who come swim with us is like, okay, spend 2 minutes in clearing the plastics on the beach. That's about it. Yeah, which is actually, I mean, I get a massive thrill when I get a big pile of plastic. So, and then we make sure, okay, we put it in the garbage or whatever we need to do. And lately, I'm sorry, I'm going to diverge a little bit here, because we've also working with Swim Drink Fish Canada, which is an organization that me, Lauren King, Mauro Campanelli, we're all associated with. And me and Lauren are the ambassadors of Swim Drink Fish Canada. So we have built an AI tool, and what we have been doing is we are training the software to recognize the kind of plastic that we find. So yeah, I mean, there's a bigger purpose behind that. Yeah, so that's a small achievement that the technology side.
And for your swims, is there a set course? Is there a time limit? Are there a set of buoys? Is it go to that point and back? How do you keep all of the kittens safe that are out there trying to swim?
Thanks for keeping me focused, Ned. So Cove has actually, there is a buoy out there which we call, it's like a leprechaun. Depending on what's happening in the lake, you can see the buoy or you can't see the buoy. So the biggest thrill for us is which is about 750 meters out in the lake. So we go touch the buoy and then we come back. Depending on the experience that we get, we give a title to the swim. Sometimes it's a drunken buoy because we take a can of beer to the buoy, and then like 6 or 10 of people, we take a sip and then we come back. I mean, sometimes we take a flask of coffee and then we have a cup of coffee at the buoy. So silly things like this, okay? And then also this Coronation Park is a nice cove. We have called this as the Glow Triangle. It's a 5-kilometer swim. This is where, I mean, as swimmers get stronger, so we have different groups of swimmers. People, in fact, people who have never swum, who have never gotten into Lake Ontario, who are living by the shores of Lake Ontario, have actually started joining us, just watching us. So we have a group that stays close to the shore. There's a nice sandbar, so people just stop. Some people have started walking and they've slowly started learning to swim, which is actually, I think that's the coolest achievement that we've done, because we've people who have been living by the shores of Great Lake for the past 40, 50 years have started embracing and touching the lake. That's one nice thing. So we have a group where people are learning to swim, so we make sure they're safe. And then a bunch of us will go to the buoy, and then we swim. We always swim in parts to make sure, okay, every swimmer is safe. And then once a week, we do the 5-kilometer swim, depending on how much time we have. Yeah. So it's a careful balance between what the reality and our passion.
Well, we've reached the end of our time, Madhus. I want to thank you for being a swim organizer. I want to thank you for bringing more people into sport, keeping them safe. And I wish you all the best at 7,000, is that meters or feet? I think it's feet above sea level.
7,000 meters.
Meters. Remember, bring your own air with you, because there'll be no air there. So thank you very much, and all the best.
Cheers. Thanks, Ned and Steve. Yeah. And congratulations. And you guys are doing like you guys are doing some wonderful things. Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you very much.